I know, I am very late to the Keychron Q1 party. Keychron has already released a follow-up, the Q2, and imminently arriving are the Q3, Q4, Q5, and Q6. Back when the Q1 was first announced, I actually reached out to Keychron about getting a review unit. This was back when I wasn't even in the partner program yet, so I was unsurprisingly ignored. So I did have to buy this Q1 through a local retailer. It was a pre-order and it got delayed, and when the units did arrive, there was a pricing issue that took some time to sort out. This isn't going to be a review exactly, since enough has been said by so many other people already about the Q1, I think. I am going to be modding it, and I know that's been done to death already too, but maybe we'll learn something new and have some fun along the way. Cool? Cool. Before we begin, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is your one-stop destination for PCB-related services. Looking to get something complex and high-end? PCBWay has got you covered with their advanced PCB workshop. From multi-layer to rigid flex PCBs, they've got it all. Head on over to PCBWay.com to check out some of the advanced products they've already made. And when you're ready to get started, get an instant quote and be on your way to turning your dream project into reality. Big thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. So there's already a pretty solid blueprint for a good sounding but still bouncy Keychron Q1. Force break, polyfill, tape. And I will be doing all of these. But first, let's take a listen to the fully stocked Q1 with some lubed and filmed Gateron black inks and GMK keycaps. Quite a bit to unpack here. First, the alphas sound pretty good, but once you reach the edges toward the modifiers, you start getting that ping. And it is bad, like tin can bad. Second, the stabilized keys sound pretty good in terms of rattle, except for the spacebar, which sounds awful and feels pretty strange, like there's a slight tactile bump for some reason. We'll have to retune these stabs. Third, some keys scrape up against the case because of the rounded corners. With GMK, it happens to me with the enter and the right shift keys. With MT3 keycaps, it's even worse, with some keys getting stuck when you press them. This is an issue that Keychron has already addressed by decreasing the corner radius, but only with the new knob version of the Q1. And fourth, there is no flex going on here that I can discern. One of the main reasons I was excited about checking this board out is the insane flex that I saw that people were getting. I know that Keychron added another sheet of foam into the case to address people's hollowness concerns, and that's probably why there's no flex. Let's open up this bad boy to see exactly what's going on. There are indeed two sheets of foam underneath the PCB. One is stuck to the bottom case with some double-sided tape and is about half as thick as the other. I wanted to max out the flex or bounce of the board, so I removed both pieces. Next, I performed the force break mod to counteract the insane ping. I used some random pieces of KBD fans stabilizer foam stickers stuck near all 8 case screws. I did 2 layers, one on the bottom case and the other on the top. I also retuned the stabilizers with 205G0 on the housings and XHTBDZ on the wires. Huge improvement, right? The board no longer sounds like a tin can, and I don't find it all that hollow, even without all the case foam. The spacebar stabilizer sounds much better, but there's still a tiny bit of rattle on the backspace and left shift. I'll have to go back in with a syringe and some 205G0. As for flex or bounce, you can definitely see the PCB plate assembly flexing a lot when you press down hard enough. But during typing, you don't really see that happening, and I didn't feel any major difference. Perhaps I'm just a light typist. I'm pretty surprised by how good this already sounds with just these initial mods. The force break mod isn't a common mod, but it's not that hard to do. I guess this board doesn't really need as much modding as I initially thought, which is great news. But we're not going to stop here, of course. I do want to see what kind of difference the other mods will make. First, we'll add some polyfill and the folded up sheet of PE foam underneath the PCB, alexotos style. I think the PE foam is supposed to stiffen up the bottom section of the board and improve the spacebar sound. This is not the PE foam mod. We'll do that later on. What do you think? In person, it's hard to discern a difference here, really. The flex has been reduced quite a bit. Maybe I used too much polyfill in PE foam. And during typing, I think I do feel it having become a bit stiffer. But it's hard to say for sure without having another Q1 without any sound dampening material to compare side by side. Listening to the two typing tests back to back, I couldn't really discern too much of a difference either. With the polyfill, it seems to sound slightly louder, which does make sense based on my experience. Stiffer equals louder. But then again, it could just be a difference in mic placement or some other unrelated minor factor. The spacebar sounds similar to me too, so I'm not sure the folded PE foam did anything here. Much like BadSeedTech, I also found the polyfill kind of annoying to work with. It was hard to keep it in the case while assembling it all together. Often I would get little strands of the stuff peeking out of the case gap. For this reason and for that possibly slightly softer typing feel, I will be omitting all of the case dampening. The two stock sheets of foam, the polyfill, and the folded PE foam. Nothing at all underneath the PCB. For the final round of mods, we'll be trying 3 different setups. Setup 1 will be the PE foam mod only. This is where we lay a sheet of PE foam on top of the PCB and push the switches through it. Setup 2 will be the Tempest tape mod only. We'll apply 2 layers of painter's tape to the back of the PCB. And setup 3 will be both the PE foam mod and the Tempest tape mod together at the same time. I first applied the PE foam mod along with the stock plate foam but ran into some issues. The thickness of the stock plate foam is too exact to accommodate the addition of the 0.5mm PE foam underneath. With that added height, some of the switches lifted up too high off the PCB, requiring a lot of force to activate them. And so I decided to omit the plate foam for all 3 setups. All 3 of these setups make the Q1 sound louder, livelier, and thockier. To my ears, PE foam alone is loudest, highest pitched, and brings that characteristic poppy, staticky sound. Tape mod alone is slightly more muted, lower pitched, and doesn't have as much pop. With both together, you get a kind of middle ground in terms of sound volume, pitch, and pop. Honestly, the differences between the 3 are very subtle, and I would wager you'd be very happy with any of these 3 setups. For the rest of this video, I'm going with setup 3 with the PE foam, Tempest tape, and force break mods, as well as no sound dampening material at all inside. The last thing we'll be doing is pitting this final form of the Keychron Q1 against the final form of my GMMK Pro, whose journey from stock to fully modded I documented in 2 previous videos. This isn't going to be a 1:1 comparison exactly, as the 2 boards are not modded in the same way. This is just how I like both boards set up. The GMMK Pro has its stock case foam while the Q1 does not. The Q1 has both tape and PE foam, while the Pro only has PE foam. I replaced the Pro's stock gaskets with thicker D65 gaskets, but screwed the case tight so it doesn't really flex. Both boards have aluminum plates and will use the same 3 switch plus keycap combinations. I'll leave the full sound tests at the end of the video. With all 3 setups, I found that the Q1 sounds louder and higher pitched than the GMMK Pro, although in setup 3 with the Bobas and Maxkey SA, that difference is not that significant. I was expecting the Pro to be louder due to its stiff setup, so I'm surprised by this result. The pitch difference is also surprising since the Pro only has PE foam, and this is the setup that ended up highest pitched during our earlier comparison. Overall, I like how both sound, but I prefer the GMMK Pro's deeper, fuller sound. What did you hear? Unsurprisingly, the Q1 is the softer typing experience, and I do like that. But it's not something I'm necessarily able to notice, except if I'm going from typing on one to the other. And it's really only noticeable during the beginning of that transition. So the edge does go to the Q1 in terms of typing feel, but it's not a huge win. I also want to comment on these Akko Radiant Red switches real quick. They're surprisingly pleasant, even completely stock. I don't feel or hear any scratchiness or ping. I also find the long stem pole slap they exhibit to be immensely satisfying. This is surprising to me as I once had a couple of long stem pole switches, the Rock Palms and Glorious Pandas, that I sold because their bottom out slap was just too much for me. Perhaps these Akkos sound different, or perhaps my tastes have just changed. Many reviewers concluded that the Keychron Q1 is a board with a lot of potential but requires quite a bit of modding to get there. And that's quite true of this OG version, the one without a knob. The force break mod is non-negotiable in my opinion. Otherwise, the board just sounds like a tin can. Other mods like the PE foam and Tempest tape mods are optional, but do bring that popular THOCK sound. The GMMK Pro, on the other hand, doesn't really require any mods to be usable out of the box. That's excluding, of course, universal mods like stabilizer tuning, which you should do on every keyboard. However, the Q1 does have more potential in the flex or bounce department. The knob version of the Q1 is a different story. They've addressed the only 2 issues I have with the board: the tin can ping and the top case corner radius. I do wish they'd come out with a version of the board without the knob that also includes these fixes, because I do like having 5 navigation keys. That would be my perfect Q1. I will probably sell off either the Keychron Q1 or the GMMK Pro because they're just too similar to both have in my collection. I'm currently leaning towards selling the Q1 just because of that corner radius issue. The Pro is not as nice to type on as the Q1, but it doesn't have any usability issues, which gives it just enough of an edge to stay. Maybe. For now. And there we go. Another modding journey complete. What did you think? How do you like my setup? Anything you'd have done differently? Let us know in the comments. Once again, we're ending with the full sound tests of our 3 switch plus keycap combinations on the Q1. If you'd like to help the channel survive, please stay until the end of those. And if you found this video helpful, entertaining, informative, or any other positive adjective, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching.